minute.
Huh? Lord, help us to
Good.
say what we need to say, do what we need to do, rock and roll. Huh? Are we ready?
We're live.
Oh, we're live? I didn't know we were live already. Oh, welcome to the 4th episode of G&E Life and Legacy. I'm here with Ezekiel Woolley, and we are about to talk about the third habit of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you're ready to make some new habits, break some old habits, we're here to give you some tidbits and do a little banter back and forth on the G&E Life and Legacy as we talk about life, talk about legacy, and maybe fill that generation gap with Ezekiel and Greg Woolley. And so first things first. What do you think about this first things first thing that we did this week, Ezekiel?
We made this week.
For today. Yeah.
I thought we were doing pretty good with first things first today. I like the topic that we were on. Habit 3.
Habit 3, first things first. You know, in the rooms of recovery, they talk about putting first things first. And so that would be putting your sobriety first, doing stuff like that first. And so this opens up with a quote from Goethe. And I looked up Goethe, and he's somebody from 1890, I believe.
Oh, wow.
The things which matter most must never be at the most. Oh, I'm not talking well tonight. Things that matter most must never be at the mercy of the things which matter least. And that's from Goethe, and he was an 1890 German philosopher, poet, playwright, all kind of stuff. But it opens up with ask yourself 2 questions. What one thing could you do you aren't doing now that if you did on a regular basis that could make a tremendous positive difference in your personal life? And then question 2 would be along the same thing. What one thing in your business or professional life would bring similar results? So did you I don't know, did yours open up with those 2 questions?
No, mine started off with, I watched the Indy 500. I was thinking about that they had left earlier. They wouldn't have gone so fast. And then mine also started off straight into the time quadrants. The 4 time quadrants.
Mine goes a little bit.
That might be reversed.
Yeah.
No, camera won't show because it's reversed.
Mine goes quite a little bit before it.
Mine's jumps right into the 4 quadrants, and then it described as why struggle with whenever you're packing your stuff, because with life you're always trying to cram so many things together. It's like a suitcase where if you fold everything nice and neatly, you'll get it all together. But if you're unorganized and just trying to shove it all together, it won't ever be able to fit everything. But you'll be able to fit a lot more if you have everything nice and organized.
Yeah, and so that's the concept of first things first. It talks about what's important, but whenever I thought about that question, and the first questions out of the gate, what could I do better that I'm not doing on a regular basis in my personal life and then in my professional life? I think that being more intentional about relationships is one that I've kind of struggled with. Though I think that generally I'm pretty good with maintaining relationships once I have them, but often initiating and cultivating new relationships isn't a strong point for me. And I must have a 9,145, probably more or less, business cards down there. Did you ever see the stack down there in my one drawer?
Yes.
Yeah. Of cards that I got that I never followed up with. So why even take the card if you're not going to follow up and say hello? I'd like to get to know you. Would you like to do a discovery call? To see how we might collaborate or help serve each other. In whatever way that might come about. So I think that over the years I've really struggled with that one a lot, and that would be a hope of mine to do that better, because I think that the only way you get to know people and have people know, like, and trust you, whether it be in friendships or in business relationships, you have to reach out and let people know who you are. And I really like to do that better in the coming years. It's kind of my legacy is because you can do a lot more in life if you have people on your side and doing things with you, and I think you already know that, Zeke, in your business life so far. how much more can get done if you have people rooting for you and referring you out. Yeah.
Indeed. In my book, that's described more as later on, where it's describing fears that you should be stepping out of your comfort zone and taking those chances, such as, let's say you had someone that you liked, was one of the ways they described it. Why not just say hello and say that you like them, because it's take those chances and see where things go. You are more likely, you're one of one to not do something and fail, rather than, oh, that was said badly. You are guaranteed to not, if you haven't done anything, you're guaranteed not to know the outcome. If you have done something, you have no guarantee of what that could have led to. That was more better way to word it.
Good deal. Yeah, and in the mind, it talks about effective management is putting first things first, while leadership decides what first things are. And then it talks about discipline derives from disciple, and that's where it kind of goes more into having a value defined time management, because if you haven't defined your values and what's important to you first, that you really get run down by putting out fires, by addiction to distraction, and those kind of things. And I know that to be really true. I've heard Steve Pugh and a lot of other people that get involved in this kind of work talk about the 80-20 rule, about 20% of the things that we do bring us the most results in our business and in our life, and 80% are like distractions and things, the little things that you could actually delegate to other people. And it goes into that too. Once you get past the time management, it talks about delegation too. If you look into the time management matrix, it talks about in box one activities and one, and it kind of blocks them out as important and not important, and then across the top it would be urgent and not urgent, and then in one it has activities would be crisis, pressing problems, deadline driven projects. And then so that would be kind of like putting out fires, because, oh no, tomorrow's a deadline, we got to get done because we didn't do our work.
Mine describes that differently. Mine describes it as the 4 quadrants. It gives it names. Quadrant 1 is a procrastinator. Quadrant 2, the best quadrant, is a prioritizer.
That's a funny word, right?
And then quadrant 3 is the yes man, and quadrant 4 is a slacker.
Huh. Yeah, because and then in mine, not number 2 would be the one that they say that we should be into, like Zeke's. But
the prioritizer.
Yeah, the prioritizer. It talks about the prevention, the relationship building, recognizing new opportunities, planning and recreation. So and then does yours go into about the roles too? I forget where that was. Does yours go into the roles too?
What do you mean
about different hats that we wear? And maybe because because it doesn't apply so much to a teenager, but it talks further in. It
describes more of, if you're in quadrant 1, the results of too much time in quadrant 1 are stress, anxiety, feeling burnt out, and mediocre performance. Quadrant 3 would be more of feeling like you're a follower rather than a leader, lack of discipline, feeling like a doormat for others to wipe their feet on. Quadrant 4 is the lack of responsibility, guilt, fake flackness, missing out on adventures. And then quadrant 4 is control of your life, balance, and high performance.
Yeah, so it's kind of the same. When if you the I guess the negatives on quadrant 1 would be stress and burnout, crisis manage, always putting out fires, and then 3, short-term focus, crisis management, kind of the same thing. Reputation, chameleon character, so imposter syndrome, I would think that would be 2, and then 4 would be like total irresponsibility, fired from jobs, dependent on others or institutions for the basics. Then it goes back to 2 with vision and perspective, balance, discipline, and control, and a few and less crisis management. It's funny because I was one of the people that a professional that I had talked to before labeled me as crisis management a long time ago. I think that I've come a long way with that I'm not crisis oriented. It also goes into the enemy of the best is often good. So a lot of people instead of and they settle into doing good at things, and they never really step out of that comfort zone again and go into go into a great life. So you can fall into the habit of having just an okay life instead of really pushing yourself to be more. And I think that people do that a lot. What do you think, Zeke?
I think so too, that people do push away the things that they should be doing first, and that a lot of that can be coming down to comfort, or my book describes it as not being able to do like a schedule. My book highly suggests doing like a weekly schedule where you put the most important things, like your big rocks, and put those down and black out those times to be doing those important things, whether that be family, school, jobs, activities that you're doing, volunteering, anything like that, and having those times blocked out for that time of the week or whatever time you put them as. And it's okay that if you don't get those main tasks done like you had planned to, but you want to be able to get as many of those tasks that you had planned out to be done with.
Yeah, because if you don't put your big rocks in, and I've seen that done in live things before, where if you put all the little rocks in, all the meaningless tasks in first, you'll never get the big rocks in the end. It's kind of has them going into a vase or something like that. Will all this stuff fit in? But if you put the big ones in first, kind of all your smaller duties and details fall into place somehow or another easier than if you leave the big rocks out first and you never get the big tasks done. And I've seen that before, and I think that can be really true if you haven't prioritized your day. And this is where it goes into talking about doing it for the week too. That once you identify your roles in life, like the father role, the different duties that you have for the week, and have those kind of tracked out and what kind of time that you need to give those. The father role, the husband role, and it goes in individual spouse. And then it goes into business stuff, manager of new products, research, staff development, administration, and then charitable stuff that you have to go through those and know what kind of time that you want to give those, so that way all the distractions aren't just all the distractions aren't just coming along and saying here, and I really like this sentence. The key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. And I think that's what that list of the different roles that we play in life is supposed to identify, so that then we are doing what our priorities are, not just having them be a second thought and like, oh no, I have to do this now. And I've been really guilty of that over the years of more of a fire putter outer than living with intention. And what else you got, Seeker?
Does yours go over anything about courage and comfort? Yours doesn't go over anything about courage and comfort. Mine goes over being out of your comfort zone and being able to basically try new things, get out there, be able to learn some new things, and then take those chances, because you never know what those chances could lead to, such as make a new friend, resist peer pressure, break an old habit, develop a new skill, try out for a team, audition for a play, ask out the one and only, change your job, get involved, be yourself.
Good stuff.
Just do it.
Just do it. I think I have to read yours now, but it talks about then living, and mine talks about now living it and going back into remembering, habit one, And if you were doing it from a computer metaphor, habit one, you're the programmer, because remember, in habit one, we're proactive, we're making the decision on how we want to live. And then habit two, we talked about thinking with the end in mind, and that would be writing the program. And then habit three would be running the program. And so then live the program. That self-discipline and integrity and commitment, not short-term goals, schedules or the impulse. That once we have our pieces put into place, that we're actually living our mission statement. And I think that's a big missing piece for a lot of us, is we don't really know what our mission is, and we haven't really thought about where we want to go and what we want our life to look like in the end. So that not having thought about that dash is a big deal.
Another fun part about my book is it goes over winning means rising each time you fall. One of the biggest ones, you'll never guess who this is, I'm willing to bet. It says he failed in a business at the age of 20, was defeated for state legislator at the age of 23, failed in business at age 25, coped with death of his sweetheart at the age 26, suffered a nervous breakdown at age 27, and then it goes on until was defeated Senate at age 46. Who do you think that could have possibly been?
It was Abraham Lincoln, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I've read that somewhere else before. So yeah, I had heard some of that. Yeah, he'd overcome a lot to be such a big difference maker in the end.
And then be one of the greatest changes in American history too.
Yeah, right. And so does yours talk about delegation? And I thought this was a big aha for me too, because I've often really stunk at delegating, about giving people I don't want to say they're menial tasks, because a lot of times in life, once you decide where your gifts are, that if you lean into your gifts, you can make the most difference with your gifts. And then having someone else, like with the computer work or some other work, if you can delegate to people and delegate wisely, it'll make your life so much more productive in the end. And it also talks about how if you're a manager and you have well-trained people under you, your time can be times by like 100, because you have 100 people that you're delegating to. Whereas if you're one person trying to do 100 times the work, you'll never pull it off.
Like being able to give people the tasks that they're best at.
Right, and stick inside of your gifted zone.
And then have the people that are gifted in certain things be able to do those certain things too.
Because like with the organization, because whenever I have somebody helping me with the organized, I think that I function much better, behind me, because I struggle with that, and I struggle with the whole computer literacy stuff a lot of times too, because I go in to do stuff and then I find myself 4 hours later and just frustrated with it because I couldn't figure out how to do it right. So a lot of times having those people that you can delegate to that are better at that really saves you a lot of stress and a lot of time that you can't really buy back at the end of the day.
I think I know one of those people that get asked a lot to help you.
Yeah, you're one of those people. So what else you got?
Not too much. Mine didn't go over the delegation.
Yeah, I thought that, because I think that you're good at that too, because I think that me as a middle child, I've always never been able to ask people to do stuff for me. I think that you have that in your genes, because you've been telling Alex what to do since you were born. and you're a good delegator. I really think that you are.
I try to give people whatever they're best at and use those kind of opportunities.
But yeah, so in the end, put first things first, and I think that you'll first do a little discovery on what are your first things first, and you'll find that you'll get a lot further in life, and then and life won't be running you, and if we can.
Being able to take those important tasks and do them first so that you have time
Right,
to do the other
Brian
things you
Tracy,
want.
and I'm hoping that we can do a book on Brian Tracy because I love Brian Tracy too. I have all those leadership books that I love. Think and Grow Rich would be a good one too. If you have any suggestions on what book we might tackle next or anything you'd like us to talk about, we'd like to hear that. But Brian Tracy calls it Eat That Frog, and he has a book called Eat That Frog, and it sounds weird, but a lot of business people have those tasks that need to be done and should be done, and you end up doing busy work all day instead of eating that frog first thing. So he suggests that before you do anything else, that you eat that frog, and that would be the first things first concept. Eat that frog, get those hard things that you don't want to do out of the way, make those cold calls, those phone calls, all that first, and then all the rest will fall
That's
into
truly
place.
eating that frog.
Huh?
That is truly eating that frog.
That is truly eating that frog. Get it done first, and you'll be happy.
Yeah, like how I had the freaking website that I kept procrastinating to.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't want to do this. And then I finally ate the frog and did it.
Yeah. So, well, thank you all for being here, and tune in next week as we get into win-win. That's what the next habit is win-win. And if you go into the circle that kind of Stephen Covey plots out in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it goes from dependence on the bottom, then independence in the middle, and we're right at that middle point right now. And the next one becomes win-win, which would the end. What you want to lead to is interdependence instead of
And
a lot
being
of
able
people.
to think win-win.
Yeah, and a lot of people think they want to move into independence, but really you want to have interdependence where people depend on you and you depend on people, and that way you can go a whole lot further than you could alone. Because if you think the Lone Ranger thing works, but and I've been a solo entrepreneur in my life before, and it becomes hard because everything falls back onto you if you don't have the right supports put into place. So interdependence is a much better place to be than independence, I believe, in my eyes.
I would believe so too.
Yeah. So next week is Think Win-Win. Look for that coming out on Sunday. I don't have much else to say on first things first, but I know that it's an important concept to think about and to implement. So. We not only need information, we not only need inspiration, but most of us really need implementation.
And then we also, if anyone's looking for a side hustle, we are involved in a fun side hustle as well as being able to help other people with their.
We met Miguel. We had a great weekend, by the way. I thought it was.
Me too.
We were over with a tattoo family. Robbie had a free love event, and I got to do some.
He runs the podcast called Human Narrative. That's a really good podcast.
Yeah, once a month he does a human narrative, and yeah, it is actually put on live. So if you want to, I think the word of the month is healing this month. I'm not sure, I can't remember, and it's next week. So if you're Central Florida or Melbourne, come on out and hang out at Rad Inc. with Robbie Ripple and the Human Narrative, and it is a really good healing event where if you haven't gone, where people are sharing where they've been and what they overcome, it's a good healing place to be.
And then if you need any financial services help, we are in the financial service grounds. I am slowly trying to get there. Once I turn 18, I'll be getting my life insurance license.
And then moving on to the securities license,
yes.
because if you need a free financial needs analysis to see where you're at financially, to help you get out of debt, we do debt stacking. We have a debt stacking program that's pretty awesome to help you get out of debt, invest a little wiser, and make sure your family's protected financially. So I think that's a great thing.
Yeah. And then if there's anything else that you guys want to hear from us, suggest about anything, leave it in the comments. And we hope you guys have a wonderful start to the week.
Have a great week.
Have a great week.
How's that?
Oh, I might have cut the live stream a little bit too early.